I'm joined now by Sourabh Gupta. He's a senior fellow at the Institute for China-America Studies. A prominent PNG writer has dubbed APEC SHIPEC because Xi Jinping arriving. We showed part of a speech he gave last night, unveiling this new road that China helped pay for, a school as well. Talk to me about the significance of his presence there and kind of, they really are rolling out the red carpet in many respects.
Yes, they are rolling out the red carpet, and it's the first state visit also to Papua New Guinea. So Papua New Guinea is the poorest among the 21 APEC members. So the president of China coming down to Port Moresby, staying and living out there is a big deal. And that has the contrast has been that much more because Vice President Pence is not going to be staying. He's flying in from Cairns. So this is obviously a big deal, but I would not want to place this story too much in a zero-sum context or a competitive context with the US, because Mike Pence has a good message at this APEC summit with regard to infrastructure, which is a win-win area. So I think both China and the United States are here to participate in a positive frame of mind.
And Pence is going to speak, Xi's going to speak. There are starkly different approaches, though. Obviously, Xi and China embracing globalism and the U.S. going in a different direction. So give me your sense of how these speeches will go over.
Yes, and unfortunately, that is the aspect which will jump out the most to most observers. There is a trade war happening between the two parties. President Trump and the US administration has come in with a very harsh line on trade, which is mercantilist or outright protectionist, but it certainly is unilateralist, while President Xi has been talking about globalization and committing to globalization for quite some time. But again, the area I would like to place greater emphasis on is an area where both parties, even though they may come in with very different rhetoric, are actually on the same page, and that is on infrastructure. The US Congress just passed the BUILD Act, and OPEC has been substantial, Overseas Private Investment Corporation has been substantially, its funding capabilities has been enhanced, and they're willing and ready to go into infrastructure, and infrastructure in Asia-Pacific is a win-win area.
It's interesting, though, the Australian Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, is also going to be addressing this group. He's expected to try and kind of strike the same sorts of tones you are. He's expected to say tit-for-tat protectionism and threats of trade wars are in no one's interest economically and undermine the authority of the global and regional trading rules that benefit us all. This, of course, comes on the heels of Premier Lee of Singapore saying the U.S.-China rivalry is awkward for these leaders because it seems as though they're given a choice. They've got to go with one side or the other. They don't want to. Are these messages going to get through to the leaders of these two countries?
I hope the messages do get through. I think the US has been hearing that message because when you do come down to regional multilateral symmetry in Asia, you need to have a positive economic message. And if you do not have the message, then you need to basically get down to harping about the strategic and security situation, which is oftentimes a zero-sum equation and which people do not want to hear. They want to hear how we can get more peaceful and more prosperous and stable in that region. So yes, but I do have issues also with Australia. Australia has a good story to tell on trade, but Australia also, from a more security angle, you know, Papua New Guinea has been in its, what we'd say, its patch, its sphere of influence. But sphere of influence is a 20th century, 19th century concept. I mean, China faces US bases and a huge allied presence not too far from its boundaries, and it has learned to tolerate and live with it. And people like the Australians need to have the Chinese and other people who have not been there in Papua New Guinea and in the Pacific Islands become regular players out there and to embrace that process. It cannot be spheres of influence for me, but not for you. And that is a message the Australians haven't yet gotten.
No, that's a good point. Sourabh Gupta, always great to see you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.